In this video, we will review writing equations of lines in various forms. The first part says write the point-slope form of the equation of the line that passes through the point -2, 2 and has a slope of 3/2. Now, for this, if I want to write an equation in this form, we know that it's always in the form, so it's y minus the blank equals the blank times x minus the blank, where we know that we fill in, this is the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. Now, for the first blank, the y coordinate is 2, so I'm going to fill in a 2. Then for the next blank, we need the slope, and the slope is this 3/2, so I can fill in 3/2. And then in the last blank, I need the x coordinate, and the x coordinate of the point is -2, so I can fill in a -2. Now the only other thing we have to change here is we know that when we have minus and negative, this really becomes a plus. So I can rewrite it as y minus 2 equals 3/2 times x plus 2. Now the next part of our question says rewrite the equation in slope-intercept form. So if my equation were y minus 2 equals 3/2 times x plus 2, essentially what you're doing here is you're going to solve for y, because remember slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So to do so, I would have to distribute the 3/2. So I get y minus 2 equals 3/2 x plus 3, and then you can add 3, or add 2, I'm sorry, to both sides. So you get y equals 3/2 x plus 5. Now using this information, we need to graph the line. So if my equation is y equals 3/2 x plus 5, and now I want to graph, we know that the form is always y equals mx plus b. So the value of m, which is our slope, is 3/2. So I can fill in that m is 3/2, and our value of b, which is our y-intercept, is 5. And now if I want to graph, remember we always start with the y-intercept. So I can find a point 5, so I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to graph my point. And then because my slope is 3/2, this means that you're going to go up 3 and then right 2. So if I graph, I'm going to go up 3, so up 3 units, and then over 2 to put my next point. And you can continue to add points. So I can go down 3 and left 2. I can go down 3 and left 2 again. And then you're going to draw in the full line for your equation. Now, if I want to pick out 2 points on the line, I'm just going to pick out any 2 points that I need. So 1 point could be this point right here, which is at 0, 5, and another point can be this point right here, which is at 2, 8. The last thing we need to do is change the equation into standard form. And remember that standard form is ax plus by equals c. And so far we're at the point where our equation we have from above is 3/2 x plus 5. So if I copy this, y equals 3/2 x plus 5, we first need to move the x over. So I'm going to subtract 3/2 x from both sides. So you'll have negative 3/2 x plus y equals 5, because this cancels. And then the last thing you need to do is you need to get rid of the fraction, because remember, part of this is that you can't have any fractions. Okay, so in order to do that, I multiply everything by 2. So if I distribute this 2 to everything, it's going to become negative 3x plus 2y is equal to 10. So our final answers here, if we go back and highlight, my point slope form of the equation is given as y minus 2 equals 3/2 x plus 2. The slope intercept form is y equals 3/2 x plus 5. My graph is over here. I chose 2 more points on the line. And then lastly, I changed it to standard form. In this example, we will review writing the equation of a line given 2 points. The first part of this example says find the slope of a line that contains the points 3, 1 and 1, negative 5. So if I zoom into just that part of the question, we can recall that the formula to find the slope from any 2 points is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So given our 2 points at the right, if I were to call this x1, y1, x2, y2, we are substituting into the formula. So the basics of it is it's the fraction with the minus in the middle, and now I'm just substituting. So I first want to substitute the y2 value into the first blank, which we can see is a value of negative 5. So I can fill in a negative 5 minus the value of y1, which from our labeling should be 1. So minus 1. Then I need the value of x2 to go in this blank, which has a value of 1. And then lastly, I need the value of x1 to go in my last blank, which has a value of 3. Now if I simplify from here, I first need to check, okay, I'm just subtracting both numbers, so everything is fine. Now if I combine, the negative 5 minus 1 becomes negative 6. 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then the last thing we want to do is simplify. Now in this case, it becomes a whole number, and the negative 6 divided by negative 2 gives us a slope of 3. Now for the next part of the problem, we see that it says write the point slope form of the line using 3, 1, rewrite it in slope intercept form. So from above, we can transfer that the slope is 3. Now if I zoom in to focus on just that part of the problem, I'm given this point that I'm going to use. So if I consider what's given to me, I have my slope of 3 and my point of 3 comma 1. Now the general form for point slope of any equation is y minus the blank equals the blank times x minus the blank, where we fill in, this is the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. So if I rewrite my equation, or if I'm going to fill in, I first need to identify the y coordinate of the point, which is 1. So I can fill in a 1 right here. Then I need to identify the slope, which from what's given to me that we calculated before, the slope was 1, or 3, excuse me. So I can fill in a 3 into this blank. And then lastly, we need the x coordinate, which the x coordinate is 3. So I can fill in a 3 into this blank. Now, the next part of the problem asks us to rewrite it in slope-intercept form. So when you are rewriting in slope-intercept form, essentially what you are doing is you are going to solve for y. So if I want to do this in this problem, the first thing I'm going to do is distribute the 3. So it's going to stay as y minus 1 equals 3 times x becomes 3x. 3 times minus 3 is minus 9. And then the last thing I would do to finish getting this y completely by itself is I would have to add 1 to both sides. So if I add 1 and simplify, that's going to give me a value of y equals 3x minus 8 as our equation. Now the next part of the problem asks us to write this point slope form of the line using 1 comma negative 5. Now if I erase this a little bit just so I can see that it's 1 negative 5, I can transfer from above that the slope is 3. And now if I zoom in to focus on that problem, if I'm focusing on my point 1 comma negative 5, I'm now using that same point slope form. So it's y minus the blank equals the blank times x minus the blank. And I'm filling in, this is the y coordinate, the slope, and the x coordinate. So if I'm filling in, I first need the y coordinate, which from the point is negative 5. So I'm going to fill in a negative 5 here. Then I need the slope, which we calculated before to have a value of 3. So I can fill in a 3. And then lastly, I need the x coordinate, which has a value of 1 as was given to us. Now from here, if we want to change it into slope-intercept form, like we mentioned before, essentially we are solving for y. So in order to do so, first I notice that I have this minus and negative. And we know that whenever we have minus and negative, this becomes a plus. So I can rewrite this as y plus 5 equals 3 times x minus 1. Then to continue solving, I would have to distribute the 3. So the y plus 5 stays the same. And I multiply 3 times x, so it gives me 3x. And 3 times minus 1 is minus 3. And then lastly, to finish getting that y by itself, I have to remove the 5. So in order to do so, I would subtract 5 from both sides. So we get y equals 3x minus 8 as our equation. Now if I zoom out to look at this whole problem, we should notice that this equation and this equation are the exact same, which should be true if you did it correct, because they are the equation of the same line. So these two should be the same. Now when I'm going to graph those, I'm going to graph that equation. So it's that y equals 3x minus 8. So if I zoom in to graph this bottom part and I find my 2 points as the last two parts of this problem, I need to first identify the slope and y-intercept. So we know that the slope is this first number 3, and the y-intercept is the second number of -8. Now we always start with graphing the y-intercept. So I'm going to find -8, so I got down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is my first point. And then because my slope is 3, we know this is really 3 over 1, so you're going to go up 3 and over 1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 over 1, 1, 2, 3 over 1. And then you would draw in your line using those as your guide. Now when you're finding 2 points on the line, you can pick whichever 2 points you want as long as they fit appropriately. So I'm going to choose, for the purposes of this, I'm going to choose one of my points is this point right here. So it's at 0, -8. And I'm going to choose this next point. I already used 1, -5, and 3, 1, as I see up above. So I'm going to choose this point right here at 2, -2. So this would be our final answer for this problem in this part of the performance task. In the last example, we're going to write an equation to model a scenario. So for example, it says at a local bowling alley, it costs $2.50 to rent bowling shoes plus $2 per game. Write an equation to model the scenario. So the important parts of this problem is that it's $2.50 to rent the bowling shoes plus $2 per game. So if I were to rewrite this, and it says let the total number of games equal X and the total cost equal Y. So if I kind of visualize this from what's given here, the total is going to equal the cost to rent the shoes plus the cost for the games. Now if I substitute here, we know that it should be $2.50 to rent the bowling shoes. So I'm going to write my part of the equation. So it'll be 2.50 for the first part. Then it says plus it's $2 per game. Now since it's $2 per game, that's the indicator to us that this is going to be the one that is going to involve the slope because it is a rate. So I'm going to use the $2 with that variable X representing the number of games. So I'm going to call this $2 per game. So 2x equals the total, which the total is going to be a variable. And looking at what we have, the total is represented by the equation y. So it would equal y. If we wanted to rewrite this into more of a formal y equals mx plus b like we're used to, okay, make it y equals 2x plus 250. Now, given this part, we have to find 2 more points on the line. So I'm going to use x equals 0 for one of them, and I'm going to use x equals 1 for the other one. So using that information in my equation, y equals 2x plus 250, okay, I'm plugging in for this value of x. So for the first one, y equals 2 times the value x plus 250. And again, like I said before, I'm substituting this in as my value of x. So I can plug in this value of 0. Now when I simplify this, this gives me a value of 2 times 0 is 0. This becomes 250. So my ordered pair can be 0, 250. For the second one, again, I'm going to use this value of 1 for x. So if I rewrite the whole equation, it's y equals 2 times that value of x plus 250. I can plug in this value of 1 into the equation. And when I do that, it becomes y equals 450. So your order pair would be 1, 450. So far we have our equation is given to us as y equals 2x plus 250. I have 0, 250 and 1, 450. Now if we want to rewrite the equation in standard form, so I'm starting with the equation as y equals 2x plus 250. When you're rewriting something in standard form, essentially all you're doing is you're changing it into the form so x and y are together. So it's like ax plus by equals c. So in order to do such rearranging, I'd have to move the x over. So I can subtract 2x from both sides, and I'm going to rewrite it as negative 2x plus y equals 250. So this would be my answer for the equation in standard form. And then the last part says find the cost of playing 3 games, rewrite it as an ordered pair and a solution. So if we want to find the cost of playing 3 games, this means that you're going to let x equal 3, and we're given the equation is y equals 2x plus 250. So if I were to do this, I'm going to substitute this value of 3 in for x. So it would become y equals 2 times the value of x, which is 3 plus 250. And if I simplify that, becomes y equals 850. So if I would write this as an ordered pair, I could write this as 3, 850. And if I wanted to write it as a sentence, I would say that the cost of 3 games is $8.50. The point is helpful in putting in context of the equation. However, rewriting it in this context with the sentence allows us to apply this to make use of it.